In the year 480 BC, the mountains of Greece stood silent as the narrow pass of Thermopylae watched over the land like a natural gate. At sunrise, golden light touched the cliffs and the quiet sea, but far beyond the horizon a storm of war was rising. Across the vast lands of Asia, the mighty Persian Empire had gathered one of the largest armies the ancient world had ever seen. Thousands upon thousands of soldiers marched beneath the banners of King Xerxes. Infantry, cavalry, archers, and elite warriors stretched across the landscape as far as the eye could see. Their armor glimmered in the sunlight, and their footsteps shook the earth as they advanced toward Greece. The Persian king Xerxes stood high upon a golden platform overlooking his enormous army. Confident and powerful, he believed that the small Greek city-states would quickly fall before the unstoppable might of Persia. The empire had conquered lands from Egypt to India, and now Greece stood as the next prize. Soon the news of the Persian invasion reached the city of Sparta. A messenger rode swiftly through the stone streets, carrying urgent warnings. Citizens watched in silence as the rider rushed toward the palace. Inside the Spartan halls, King Leonidas listened carefully as the message was delivered. Around him stood Spartan elders and generals who studied maps and discussed the growing threat. The Persian army was vast beyond imagination, but surrender was never the Spartan way. With calm determination, Leonidas rose from his seat and made a decision that would change history. Sparta would resist the invasion. Across the city, preparations for war began immediately. Spartan warriors trained relentlessly, their shields clashing and spears striking as they prepared for battle. Bronze helmets were polished, armor straps were tightened, and weapons were sharpened. Among the many soldiers of Sparta, Leonidas chose only 300 warriors to march with him. These men were not ordinary soldiers. They were elite Spartan fighters, disciplined, fearless, and trained from childhood for war. Each man carried a heavy shield, a long spear, and the unbreakable spirit of Sparta. Clad in shining bronze armor and flowing red cloaks, the 300 Spartans marched out through the gates of their city. Their shields reflected the morning sunlight as they began their long journey across the rugged Greek landscape. Villagers and allies watched silently as the legendary warriors passed, knowing they were marching toward a battle against impossible odds. Their destination was a narrow mountain pass called Thermopylae. The cliffs rose steeply on one side while the sea stretched along the other, leaving only a narrow path between them. It was the perfect place for a small army to stand against a much larger force. When Leonidas and his warriors arrived, they carefully examined the terrain. With disciplined precision, the Spartans formed their famous phalanx formation, shields locked tightly together, overlapping like an unbreakable wall. Long spears pointed forward, creating a forest of steel ready to stop any attack. Soon the horizon darkened with the arrival of the Persian army. Endless lines of soldiers appeared across the plains, their banners waving in the wind. King Xerxes watched from his throne, amused by the sight of the small Spartan force blocking the pass. To him, victory seemed certain. Xerxes sent a messenger forward with a demand that the Spartans surrender their weapons. The envoy approached Leonidas and delivered the Persian king's command. Leonidas stood tall before the messenger, calm and fearless. Without hesitation, he replied with words that would echo through history. "Come and take them." The battlefield fell silent for a moment. Then the Persian war drums began to thunder. Thousands of Persian soldiers surged forward toward the narrow pass, confident that their overwhelming numbers would crush the Spartan defenders. But the Spartans did not move. As the Persian army rushed forward, the Spartan warriors lowered their spears together and tightened their shield wall. The first collision was thunderous. Spears struck armor and shields slammed together as the battle erupted in violent chaos. Yet the narrow pass worked exactly as Leonidas had planned. Only a small number of Persian soldiers could attack at once, allowing the Spartans to hold the line against overwhelming numbers. Again and again the Persian soldiers charged. Again and again the Spartans pushed them back. The Spartan phalanx moved like a single unstoppable machine, advancing and retreating with perfect discipline. Frustrated by the resistance, Xerxes sent forward his most feared warriors, the elite Persian immortals. These soldiers were known across the empire as unstoppable fighters. Yet even they struggled to break the Spartan line. Shields locked tightly together as the Spartans held their ground, their spears striking with deadly precision. For 2 days the battle raged beneath the burning Greek sun. Dust filled the air and the clash of weapons echoed through the mountains. The Persian army attacked again and again, but the Spartans continued to resist with unmatched courage. But far from the battlefield, a dangerous betrayal was unfolding. A Greek traitor approached the Persian commanders and revealed a hidden mountain path that led around the Spartan position. Under the cover of darkness, Persian soldiers began moving along the secret route. When Leonidas learned that the enemy was approaching from behind, he understood the terrible truth. The Spartan army would soon be surrounded. Knowing the battle could no longer be won, Leonidas made one final decision. He ordered most of the Greek allies to withdraw and warned the rest of Greece. But the 300 Spartans refused to retreat. They would remain and fight to the very end. As the sun rose over Thermopylae on the final day, the Persian army surrounded the narrow pass from every direction. Yet the Spartans stood ready once more, shields raised and spears prepared. The narrow pass of Thermopylae had become the stage for a battle that would echo through history. Surrounded by towering cliffs and the restless sea, the Spartan warriors stood firm as the massive Persian army closed in from every direction. Then the final battle began. With thunderous war cries, the Spartan warriors charged forward with fearless determination, striking the Persian soldiers with unmatched skill and discipline. Bronze shields crashed together, and spears flashed through the air as the clash of weapons echoed across the mountains. King Leonidas fought among his men, leading from the front as the last stand of the Spartans unfolded. One by one, the warriors of Sparta fell. Yet even as their numbers dwindled, they refused to surrender. Their shields remained locked together, their courage unbroken and unshaken forever. When the battle finally ended, silence returned to the mountains of Thermopylae. The Persian army had won the battlefield, but the sacrifice of the Spartans would never be forgotten. Across Greece, the story of their bravery spread from city to city, becoming a powerful symbol of courage and sacrifice. Thousands of years later, the legend of the 300 Spartans still lives on, a reminder that even in the face of impossible odds, the courage of a few can inspire the world and create a legend that history will never fade.